Here we are once again. We made it to the new year. Hope everyone had a good holiday. It's January 26th, 2026. So I guess we should talk about the new year. Um, and that always brings on, I guess, New Year's resolutions. So I came across this Atomic Habits by James Clear. Why small changes create big results. What kind of person are you when it comes to change? Are you someone who set New Year's resolutions with genuine enthusiasm only to abandon them by February? Do you find yourself constantly searching for that one breakthrough moment, that perfect system that will finally transform your life overnight? If you're nodding alone, you're definitely not alone. Most of us have deeply ingrained belief that massive success requires massive actions. We're constantly bombarded with dramatic transformational stories that make it seems like change happens in sudden, life-altering moments. But what if everything we've been taught about improvement is fundamentally wrong? What if the most powerful change in your life comes from adjustments so small they seem almost boring? Well, that's exactly what James Clear discovered through one of the most traumatic experience imaginable. So you could find Atomic Habits of James Clear wherever you get any of your reading material from. But myself personally, I don't set New Year's resolutions. Um, I've did that before, but once my life was saved from substance, I changed my life. So if my New Year's resolution 28 years ago was to make today better than yesterday, then that's what I've been living by for the last 28 years. So that's the reason I don't set New Year's resolutions. But what I do is I continue to live better today than I did yesterday, to be a better person than I was yesterday, today. And I plan to be a better person tomorrow. Not many people around me, but anyone I come in contact with, whether I'm out and about in the world and society, like all of us have to be. And right now, with the country, the world is so upside down, people don't want to accept the fact that the world is COVID crazy. So we have a person, like a lot of us are, you know, batshit crazy. So we have to put something better in front of it. We can't just accept the craziest thing that comes to our mind because we're not the persons that we used to be before COVID. And I just see too many evidence of that. So I know I've changed. It's in me to shell up on persons, and that's one of the reasons I prefer to spend as much time not around persons as possible, because I know I'm just like everyone else. I'm not the same person that I used to be. Being nice and pleasant used to come easily, but now since COVID, I think I have to put a lot more effort at it, and so let's hope everyone come to the realization that COVID was real, it is real, and we have changed as a as human beings, our DNA has changed. Uh, so we have to really focus on not just saying it, but truly living it, putting Jesus in front of it. So that's what I choose to do. Is to truly put Jesus in those uncomfortable moments of coming in contact with persons out and about, because I'm not going to get caught up in some confrontation, and be aware of your surroundings, because there's a lot of persons out here that's borderline bipolar, and then just openly accepting the COVID madness that's upon us and just executing it in their personality. So be aware of it and act accordingly. So be safe out there. I'm not happy. I don't know if I can ever be happy. But I tell you what, I'm super fly happy. I am so super fly happy. So I've been happy before, but now I live my life super fly happy. I'm happy, happy, happy. I would never be happy. I'm freaking super fly happy. So if you can't be happy, be super fly happy. Be happy, happy. And you'll be surprised how much better you can feel about every day going along in your life. Christmas Eve, the three of us hung out together, and it's really weird when my unit, my wife and son, the three of us are together, and I pointed out to we as a group that we have to be really careful how we direct our energy, because when the three of us are together, I feel like it's really something different. So it's Christmas Eve, and the lottery, sorry, the lottery Powerball was a huge amount of money. So I realized and thought about, oh man, we didn't go get a lottery ticket. And so we looked around. No, we wasn't leaving home. So I says to my son and that I really hope someone in Gastonia win. That would be freaking great. And he agreed. And I just throw out there that it'll probably be someone in Arkansas that wins, because it's set up to where there's a massive group of white persons and far less number of blacks. Um, at least in my experience of watching how the lottery unfolds, a lot of times it falls in areas like that. So just off the top of my head, I just throw out there Arkansas, and then a few days later, I didn't look to see where the winnings fell, and my wife pointed out to me that someone in Arkansas won. And I'm like, oh wow, that's different. So so cool. If we'd have been in Arkansas, we would have hopefully have bought a ticket. But we're here in Gaston, so good for whoever won. I hope that money do you well, and you really do yourself well. And anyone that wins some monies, and because money is not real, but it's okay to have. I would rather have a room with a few gold bars than a lot of paper money, preferably zeros in a bank account, and that's all it is, just zeros. But paper money, people they just mad obsessed with that paper with some ink on it, and I just can't live my life like that. And yes, I'm like everybody else. I've said it before. I need finances to pay bills like everyone else, but to sell your soul for some paper with ink on it. It's just something different that I can't really wrap my head around. But I use a CPAP as I deal with sleep apnea. So I just was wondering, how valuable sleep is to persons. I mean, sleep is very valuable. The Bible portrays sleep as a gift from God for physical and spiritual renewal, essential for life. And you can find that verse at Psalms 127:2. Um, my Bible is over there. All right, all right. But I want to interrupt real quick before I get there. If you made it this far to this video, and if you want to just stroll past and you see this die cast, that'll be where I start talking about the first grade, because we're gonna get there. And I promise you, let's see, Psalm 127:2. In vain you rise early and stay up late, trolling for food to eat, for he grants sleep to those he loves. And that's about the gist of it. And as valuable as sleep is to the human body, and the creator created us, I was surprised that it didn't have I don't know, pages and pages surrounding sleep. But we all know sleep is so valuable. And I've shared with you guys how I've experienced Jesus' touch and transformation of cleaning me up some 28 years ago. So I'm gonna give you an example of how you today can tap into your Jesus spirit very easily. I don't live my life between any pages of any book, whether it's the Bible or any, because it's someone else writes something and you read it. That's from their perspective. But we all have free will, and thank God for that. That's what makes us human. But everyone has Jesus inside of them. We all do. It's just a matter of whether we want to put Jesus in front of it or let him set aside. And so we move like that, and that's fine. I mean, me, one of the most incomplete uh, way that I could imagine living is not tapping into my human side and letting it enjoy the things that life and society has to offer. But I also will tap into my Jesus spirit to help me move forward through this life and society. And I know I'm better for it. I'm a better person for it, because without it, me tapping into my Jesus spirit, life can be very dark and sinister. I mean, I'm familiar with everything that society has to offer that can take you to a dark place, especially hard substance. I mean, so anyone that has battled addiction, uh, I would love to take a moment and just say to you, I'm happy, and I think it's a great blessing that you came through it. And you're not going to find other persons to say that to you, that you are surrounded by, especially people that took you, was along with you, and some people that was on the sideline, whether they was cheering for you to uplift or to fall so much further. But the cool thing about overcoming is you get to get up and you get to stand up straight, and you get to look at individuals eye to eye when there was a time where you had to look this way and they look that way. But glory be to God, you can look forward and, and look at them and meet them. And everybody has to accept the fact that what were you about when that person was down? And you have to ask yourself, how far did you go down? So if you're looking for some form of confirmation for society to pat you on the back, you're not going to get it. That's your personal achievement, whether you did it through some administrative system program, day by day. But I'm not built that way. So my Lord and Savior had to save me. And I thank God I allowed him to do that. And out of 28 years, no one has ever said to me, Will, I'm so happy you came through that darkness, man. I am so happy. And I never look for it, but you always got to be somewhere, whether you're not going to ever just live between some walls alone. You part of the human race. So I've came in contact with tons of persons, um, and I love people. I freaking love people, man. But you're not gonna get that. We're not built that way. So continue to be your own personal hero and continue to overcome the challenges that some form of addiction, whether it's money, lust, hate, greed. So you know where you fall as an individual, or meanness, or not putting Jesus in front of being pissed off. Everybody get pissed off. Everybody, and it's just an emotion, but we have to manage it and not let that moment turn into something physical, of a slight physical. And some people, unfortunately, when they get pissed off, it turns into a real harsh form of physical. And don't do that. So everybody get pissed off, everybody get a little irritated, everybody get a little frustrated. So just don't let that come out into some physical manifestation. And we all will be better human beings for it. So here's that card. So I'm going to talk about the first grade now. So if you have strolled ahead, you're looking for the first grade conversation, you can stop right here. And so at this point, I'm 7 years old, and it's 1967. And I was because when my birthday falls August 25th, I was supposed to wait until 68 to start the first grade, but I was asked, and I wanted to go because in another video I've expressed I have a aunt that's my age and a female first cousin my age, so I wanted to go to school with them. So I was allowed to do that. So one Sunday at church, my mom approached this other lady, and she had a son that was my age. I'm not gonna call his name, and they both pointed out that we're gonna be at the same school, and if we see each other, um, know that. And we've seen each other at church, but we never interact. 'Cause a lot of times, small rural churches are just that way. You got multiple clans, well, cut families inside the that church system, and everybody just keeps to themselves and supportive of their own personal family. Pretty much the way it is now. So they introduced us and pointed out, when y'all see, if y'all see each other tomorrow, you know, that's a familiar face, and y'all be friends. Y'all be friendly to each other. So we was just little 7-year-old boys that really didn't mean anything. So we in school, and they having us to line up, and and I see this kid, and and so we realized we were around a lot of strangers, and so we just kind of connected, and 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 we both acknowledged that we're doing what our moms asked us to do. So I stood behind him, and there wasn't anything negative or uncomfortable, because there was a lot of discomfort just being in that surrounding, and they giving us commands and directions, and it was foreign. So it was good to see a familiar face. So they broke us off into our classrooms, and he and I ended up being in the same class, uh, homeroom, because kids just stayed in that one class. So we ended up being in the class together, with my last name being P and his T. So that sort of guaranteed us, and our parents, moms probably knew that we would end up in the same class, and the reason they wanted us to connect at church. So he and I, we're sitting at the back, because our last names are further down the list of the alphabet. So he and I really, we just kids, man. We wanted to all of a sudden just play. So this program was running Batman and Robin. So he and I turned our chairs uh, opposite of one another and put our hands behind our back, and kind of just clutched hands like we was tied up. And Miss Curry, she came back there, and we broke a loose really fast, and I guess she had a little paddle or whatever, kind of swatting. So we undid our, I mean, disconnected our embrace, and turned our chairs back around really fast, and so uh, we was free. So the next day, one of us took our belt off, and we really tied our hands together, and she came back there, and we couldn't uh, disconnect our hands because they was tied, and we just jumping around in our chair trying to loosen ourselves so we could separate and turn our chairs back forward. But she had us, so she just started popping us, and so yeah, it wasn't funny then, but I've never forgotten that we actually tied our hands together so she could come back there and pop on us, and so we never did that again. So what in the I don't know what went on with classes ahead of us, but it was at Washington Elementary. There was a older white building, and they said to us, never go down to that building. And there was basically adults, because it was 1 through 12. So that was freaking, for us, 7 years old. That were grown people roaming the ground. So we could never, we never went there. So lunch, the first week we brought our brown bags for lunch, and persons had to do paperwork because they was setting up a lunch system. Because our class was the first class was attending school in '67 that didn't have to, when on rainy days, to deal with mud, because the great highway system was being put in place all over the country. So in Cleveland County, it was one of the later places that was getting paved roads. So when they was paving the roads in '67 before school, I asked my uncle, what was all this taking place? And he pointed out that they're gonna pave the roads so you don't have to get on the bus with through mud anymore, or nobody has to walk in mud. And because of course that was dirtying schools up. So our class was the first class that got to get on a bus and without having mud. So we were the first part of the experiment that they really had to work on transforming this country with better educated uh, children, and to see what would take place from first grade through the 12th grade. And then, of course, school got integrated for us um, in the 4th grade. So we'll get to that further down. So from my understanding, that's what was taking place. So the second week of school, your parents had to give you lunch money until the paperwork got processed and everybody got the work information put in for persons to be on a lunch program. So I remember my older 2 siblings getting a quarter from them. I call him Pop, from Pop, and so I needed a quarter, and he says, I don't have one for you. So I didn't. So they announced everyone that paid a quarter. They had these little pieces of plastic that was made like a stop sign. That was black ones and red ones. So I guess if you got 2 of them, one was for the lunch and the other ones was for milk. So if anyone that didn't give them a quarter for lunch, you didn't have lunch. So Miss Curry, she asked myself, did I have a quarter? And I said no. So she says, anyone else in the class don't have a quarter, raise their hand. So it was myself and this other young lady. So it was lunchtime, the classroom emptied, and it was just this young lady and I left in the class with no lunch. I'm cool with that. I mean, I was still a kid. There wasn't 3 meals a day before I entered that system. So I knew I would eat something later that evening or whatever. So it didn't bother me. So she says that young girl and myself would have to stay in the classroom. So everybody left, class is empty, and this young girl My parents always made sure when we was out, we were clean, bathed, and presentable. But I don't think that was this young girl's, because there's always somebody in the class less parvish than yourself. So it was always disturbing. I've never forgotten this, but uh, yes, she lifted her dress and pulled down her underwear, exposing herself. And this little girl says to me, "You want to do it?" I'm horrified. I'm disgusted. So when she didn't get a reaction, I don't know what kind of reaction she wanted. I was brought up that was outhouses. Because it's the 60s. Everybody poor. Nobody has a brick home except some white folk. So I was brought up around a lot of aunts and few uncles. And so there was outhouses. So they would have to uh, sometimes take you to help manage the outhouse. Or sometimes if it was a older aunt, she would tell you to wait outside. And if you was small, she would take you in and have you to look to the wall. So you never saw, you just heard them relieving their bladder. So early on, I knew what boys were and girls were, and boys or private go to the outhouse by themselves. Because normally, an older brother or uncles would take you, and so with my sister would be her aunts. So you just knew there's boys, and they explained that to us also, that there's boys' bathroom and girls' bathroom. So when she did that, I knew that she was doing something very foul and wrong, and it just blew me away. It was very disturbing, and I just have never forgotten this little dark black skinny girl, Ashy from, and yeah. So I just put my head on the desk, and then she fixed herself and sat in a chair next to me and was facing me, talking, and was saying to me she don't know why she did that. But after that point, I didn't want to have anything to do with that girl. I didn't want to be in that room with her anymore. But there was nothing I could do. I can't leave the classroom. I wouldn't know where to go anyway. So after lunch, the kids came back, and Miss Curry, she asked, "Did anything happen?" So I said to her that that girl pulled her dress up and pulled her underwear down, and the lady asked me, "And what did you do?" So I says to her, "I just put my head on the desk." So that was that. So I'm thinking, okay, this is Monday, so she gonna take us out of this classroom. So she didn't do that. She left us in the classroom the next day, all the way to Friday. And the girl didn't expose herself anymore. She just spent the rest of the week trying to talk to me and asking me why I won't talk to her. And I'd already gone through some trauma at 5, so it was easy for me just to go somewhere in my head and just be alone. So on that Friday, not that Thursday, Miss Curry, she came to the classroom before lunch was over, as if she was trying to see, what was going on. And I thought, I was just, as a child, I was over it. But I'm gonna do what I have to do. I'll spend the rest of this year, because I don't want to be home. I spend the rest of this year without lunch, and I'll eat when I get home. So she called me up that Friday and asked where does my pop work, and I explained to her, he does construction, and I called out the name of the construction company. So she was filling out the forms. I found out later, and my mom had got the forms filled out for my older two siblings, and she just didn't feel like doing the form for myself. And that was weird. But so Miss Curry filled the forms out, and she told me to take that home and let my parents sign it. And so that following week, uh, she just was handing out those little plastic small stop sign pieces of plastic. One that had milk stamped on it, and the other one had lunch stamped on it. And she said, give that to the person, and then we can get a tray of food. And so that was my introductory to the first grade. So one Saturday, when we were still living in the home down below the red house, about 200 yards from my, or 300 yards from my grandmother and aunts and uncles, something crazy was taking place. Pop was out there under a tree working on a car. I don't know how long he had been home or away from home, but mom was on the porch with my sister working with her hair, and just talking. The ability to not shut up. And so finally he had enough of it, and he came up on the porch and said, get that child out of your hand. And then, he grabbed her and drug her in the house, and she started yelling at us to run. And that day, my older brother was a freaking hero, man, because he said to my sister and I, run. So we followed him and ran 300 yards from my grandmother, and they asked us, why we running up there by ourselves? What's going on? And sure, my older brother explained to them that mom was getting beat up, and that's probably the worst that it had ever taken place. So we stayed there for a long time, all evening. And it's gotten, the sun hadn't gone down, but it was almost dusk. And some of my aunts and uncle probably had gone down there to see what was taking place and how they could intervene. And I remember them coming back and saying that the door was locked and he wouldn't let them in, and that they could see that the house was really torn up and it was pretty bad. And so I found out later in life from my uncle that they wanted to go down there and remove him from life. But my grandmother explained to them they couldn't do that. That she in which she allowed her to marry this man at 14. So life is what it is. So I think from that point is when he realized that it was becoming more increasingly dangerous for him to stay that close, and he was planning on keeping up that type of brutality uh, against his wife and his children and myself. So that's when we moved um, shortly after to on John Poston and Barbara Poston's property. And so we moved, and some point, I guess this lady is their property. They're paying rent there to those persons. So I realized, okay, we live on this property now. It's closer to Shelby, and we couldn't just run out of the house and run the Waco. Not gonna happen. So we're stuck, almost some form of a plantation. There was a family that probably was 25 yards, 50 yards on the other side. I'm not gonna call their last names. And then it was us, and then it was the Postons that had their large home. So this lady, she would drive, and she probably saw that there was this 7-year-old kid that's a year under her daughter. So at some point, she stopped and asked, could she meet me? And so they said to me that this white lady, the people that own this house and the land, wanted to meet me to go out there and say hello. And I was really apprehensive. I never met I've seen Mary Tyler Moore. Mom had a TV on. I was home with her all day or whatever. So the lady reminded me of Mary Tyler Moore with the black cat-eyed glasses on. So that was familiar. So that made it easier for me to I could associate Miss Poston, Mary Tyler Moore. So I went out and she met me and she talked to me, and so I felt comfortable enough to stand at her car and talk to her. And so that's when she asked me, do I want her to teach me to read? And because when I went to school, we had to work on alphabets in the classroom. I was lost because no one worked with me on that. So first grade, when they said write your alphabets, my paper was it, it was zero. There was nothing to write. So she I hate that the brutal that took place. I mean, it is what it is, but she taught me my alphabet. So now I'm in the first grade, and everybody else writing alphabets, and I'm writing alphabets. And so I'm sure Miss Curry was wondering, like, okay, but anyway, I was excelling. So she would always, maybe like every 3 days, stop and work with me on my alphabets and numbers, and so I'll never forget. Yeah, I don't forget people anyway, but um, I've always had that a lot of love for that woman's her face and her spirit, and I've always felt connected to her. How could I not? Uh, so sometimes when people wonder why I'm a certain way, that was the first human being that showed me a form of love that I didn't really think existed. So I can't hate. I could never hate white persons. So I could always go and work in a white salon, and there was 70 hairdressers. I would fit myself very comfortably in that environment, even if 70 of them had some disdain towards me. It didn't matter because I could always draw from um, Miss Barbara Poston's compassion. So whenever I would be in those environments, I would always tap into her spiritual love that she showed me. So I could always be comfortable in those environments. And I've raised my son that way. He's very comfortable in those environments because she taught me how to teach a child to exist in white America. And I love her spirit for that. I often think about that lady. I often think about that lady. So February, we'll talk about the second grade. So I want to touch on before I go. There's a wedding I had mentioned to you guys, and I spoke of this gentleman, my niece's dad, that I met in '87. That was kind of well, he was rude. So 2023, I saw him at the wedding, and I'm just that guy. I don't care how rude you were to me some 30 years ago or whatever. I don't forget people. I wish I could. That's one of the reasons I don't really like getting on social media. I can I can connect with the person and it's like, yeah. So I stay away from social media as much as possible because I can get drawn into a person. Not anything out of the that's malicious or any intent. Just I don't know those persons, but they come across as who they are, a good, well quality human being, and it's easy for me to listen to what they have to say, especially if they talking about their Lord and Savior, everything about Jesus. So so this gentleman, when they was talking about how old he is, and I've thought about it in the last few weeks or so, that I saw him at the wedding, and he came past me, and I I said to him, "Hey," I call his name, and this gentleman says to me, "Do I know you?" And I thought, wow, that's a rude way to be at a such a beautiful wedding, and you personally connected to it with your daughter. So people, when you go to a person's weddings, don't take that bad energy. Don't do that. Those persons have spent money to have a beautiful setup, and we just spectators. Even if you're the parent, you're still just a spectator. Don't create that type of negative energy. But at the same time, with this person's age, I realize maybe they dealing with early dementia or some debilitating disease that exists in our country. And if that's the case, I totally understand why the low vibration of disrespect and low energy was put in my direction in that manner. And for that, I just wish that man good health. I wish him good health. That's all I wish for that gentleman. But if it was just he just being a low vibrating, negative, disrespect energy in my direction, I still just wish that man good health because I'll never have to see that man again. But if he is dealing with some early offset dementia, I hope he can live as long and health of a life that he possibly can. And if you guys are in the Charlotte area, Wendy and we joined Friendship Missionary Church some way years ago, and we pretty much brought Blake up in that church. And Pastor Jones, uh, I really pray for his good health and that he can live and continue to motivate persons to be the best person that they can possibly be. But if you're ever in the area, go visit that church, because that is a church that truly has proven itself that they've never had a fake building fund, because they built a tremendous uh, building there, a church. And so that building fund money went exactly where they said it was going to go. So, and if you are looking for it on YouTube, tap into Friendship Missionary Church, Charlotte, North Carolina, and just connect with it. I've been here 65 years. So I was brought up in rural churches, and I've seen that fake building fund. And even as a grown adult, thinking that I should be in a church because some persons remains are buried out there in some dirt. And then I realized that people that I love, no matter where I go, especially my mother-in-law, I was really bound to her church, because she was out, her burial plot was out there. And then I went in, I realized, well, we're not being fed, we're not getting what we need. And your mama, we both love her spirit, her memory is with us. So let's go find a church that we can be comfortable in. And that's not a reason to stay at a church, but a lot of people do. But yes, so I pray that Pastor Jones lived to be 100, because I don't think anyone else can administrate and move that church the way that it has grown and continue to grow. I've seen where that church is filled on, because Wendy and I, we in Gastonia, so a lot of times we stream it. And but we should get up and put some clothes on sometime, and just go and be among the congregation, because that's there's a good quality, a number of people there, and it's always a pleasant place that you could be and not ever have to worry about someone making you feel unwanted, because Pastor Jones and his late wife have made sure that if you visit that church and if you attend that church, he'll call people on it sometime, let them know that they hadn't always had the bank account that they have today. So, and I've always respected him for that, because me as a human being, my bank account has always been a poor bank account, but my spiritual account for the last 28 years has been freaking rich, man. Yes, has been. I'm rich as all get up with my personal relationship with my Lord and Savior, and I continue to thank Him for cleaning this rag of bones up. But if I see you, you're not gonna get no holy praises. Then thou, my relationship is personal, and but I will meet you as a good quality human being. I absolutely will, and I just wish everybody good health, and I'll see you guys February 26th. Looking forward. We get through the second grade, and this school system. A lot of it is, I realized at a young age that it was an experiment, because what that lady was doing for me inside her car, educational, I never received in the school system for out of the 12 years that I attended school. Uh, so I know it was an experiment, and we'll talk about the experimenting and the mindset of what all that was. But we can call it a school, but it was more a reform system program, and we just had to survive it. We had to survive it. And the young girl that exposed herself, um, we all gonna be a part of an obituary at some point. All we got to do is keep living, and as long as we live, we will come across someone's obituary that we know. So I think during the summer, I saw an obituary where she had passed, and and some of the reading was that she was fun loving and caring, and was the life of the party, and it really touched my heart because I never forgotten her. I mean, like a lot of persons I went to school with and grew up with, I haven't forgotten them. I just don't have to be at a pretentious reunion to feel something towards them. But I was happy to read that she had a full life, and there were people that loved her because from what she did in the first grade. Now that I've been a grown man for a freaking long time, that I know things has taken place with young girls, and I could only imagine what had taken place with that uh, child as myself. Mine were just routine beatings, but I just often have thought hers was something far more sinister, crimes of nature. But she became a woman. She survived it. And my videos are not to be liked, but if you watch them, if if you get something out of it, cool. Just view it. But I really appreciate you guys not liking my video because that means nothing to me. I appreciate you guys not commenting on my video because that's not needed. My videos are for persons that are going to be born under the Trump administration because there's some woman that wanted to abort that a child and couldn't, and that child is going to come up in some really terrible conditions. And as social media get better about itself, there will be a way for me to make sure that those children and young persons will see my videos on YouTube one day, and hopefully it will help them. And as far as persons that are disabled, I have to run an errand. So we're gonna get a workout, and I'm gonna talk to those persons about a CPAP, the ones that use a CPAP. And but right now, I have to run, and I love all human life, and it should be respected. And the things that's going on with ICE, I don't understand it. Everyone has complained about the police departments all my life. So now you have another form of policing that can police the police. So everybody just need to freaking go home. Go home. Sit in your home. Right now, I'm safe. There's police that came here for a year and a half when a racist person that lived next door sent them here, and something violent could have taken place. But I don't manage myself that way. So if they knocked on my door, if ICE knocked on my door, ring my doorbell the same way that those local police ring my doorbell, I would go to my door, open my door, and because The mandates that's there, I open my door just as easily as I did with the local polices. If they faces half covered, I'm gonna comply. I'm gonna step outside and present myself as I am, and I don't have any control of that. I'm not trying to control that, but the, those persons that's out here in the streets have believed that you've had some kind of. You should protest, but just stand there. You don't have to yell out anything. If you, I promise you, if you take 200 people and just line a sidewalk and just put your hands over your heart, one of them or both of them, across your chest to show surrender, no form of violence, not your hands not in your pocket, and you're not saying anything. You're not chanting, you're not saying anything. The silence alone will represent that you are a peaceful human being. So if they ring my doorbell, they're gonna get a peaceful person to come to the door. I may feel something inside, but I can manage that energy. But people that don't want to manage that energy, maybe they have something to hide. Maybe they have something negative that's pushing them. And a lot of people got something to hide. I mean, churches that know that there are deacons or a deacon that's a part of their deaconship is a terrible human being because they're terrible to their family, their wife. So though these jackleg ministers that's allowing those persons to remain a part of their uh, deacon boards and knowing that because people know, people know. So there's a lot of terrible people out here in our society. And most of the people that I've ever came in contact with that this type of uh, bad behavior. I mean, there was a deacon in Waco. He's this pillar of so-called community person, uh, and so at some point he and his wife took in two foster young girls, and so they viewed themselves a certain way. Okay, fine, you're doing something very admirable. But the tail sign is when those girls get older. So, of course, the tragedy of it that happens with a lot of we broken human beings, he touched those girls. And I'm sure it was a lot worse, but those girls let it be known. And I think the person ended up, getting arrested for it because it became a lot easier for a person to, a young girl to report that type of behavior. So, to say that you got these persons in church acting this way, and these persons that are here illegally, what kind of mannerisms are they conducting when no one's watching? At some point in South Park, some years ago, there was a Asian man busted for being the most I guess dealer of heroin. I mean, it was a huge amount that was connected to this person. And he was an Asian gentleman, and he lived in South Park and in an exclusive neighborhood, hiding in plain sight. So how many people was he connected to that lived in other nice, not exclusive, but nice neighborhoods, benefiting from that structure of income? So there's a lot of bad people in our country, and their politicians have profited off of the drug smuggling in this country. It has fueled the court system, lawyers. So if they truly are working towards getting that out of our country, black men are not bringing in that type of drugs. They may be have benefited from it. Hopefully, they have learned that it's just gonna lead you into death or the prison system. So a lot of white men have benefit from that form of income. As the persons have said, who owns ships and the smuggling that how it takes place. So we have a whole nother entity here that's fueling it. So maybe those are the people that's out there yelling the loudest. And just because that person has been a good neighbor to you, it's all a facade. And these white women that's out here have developed this, I can do anything, because be honest. How many of you white women has ever said to a black person, because you felt like they crossed you the wrong way, well, I'm gonna get my son-in-law because he's a police officer? A lot of you. A lot of you. How many of you had these persons on the holidays sitting at your table listening to their excitement stories that how they have brutality been brutal towards a black person? So black people, stay home, chill out, let all this get unfold and get it. Let these people that created it clean it up. And all of our information is out here, all of it. They told us that when they did that information dump, our government know exactly who I am, what I'm about, how they connected to facial recognition, my phone. So if I was doing something nefarious and criminally, they would have sent somebody in here. And when I said to you guys at some point that little girl, I guess she was a little girl that hit my mailbox, and it was really weird because all I thought was when my doorbell rang, and she had this short, she had a t-shirt on, and that's all you could see. So your imagination could easily run to, well, what else is under that t-shirt? But my mind is not built that way. I just wanted that person to feel safe, and I ain't care anything about a mailbox. But something that just didn't look right, and that person says to me that they have money. Now, if I was a pedophile, and because these people around here don't know me personally, because I'm private and I keep to myself, but I'm an old dude, and so they could have easily since, because from my understanding, there's a lot of pedophiles in Gaston County. So search all of them out. But in case they was wondering, who do I have that type of intent in my heart? And so yeah, that could have been a person that was coming here to invite themselves into my home by saying that they have money, and then but I left my glass door closed and just let that person know that next time, don't dodge the squirrel, because you just be safe. But my point is, if I was about that, and I would have invited that little girl in my house, or that person that was portraying to be a little girl, and just the fact I would have invited her in my home, that would have left myself open to whatever. They could have said some safe word and just felt uncomfortable, or just getting me caught up in something that I would have to. We basically would have lost our home. I mean, there's a housing shortage, so there are people out here that's wanting you out of your home. If you have a decent home, they need family homes. So if you're not living right, you may be subject to some form of setup. So you have to be accordingly. So be a good human being. So it could have been an actual girl. Either way, I'm glad it was my door that she rang, because if she was a little girl, but I always thought it was really strange that parents never showed up here at my door and said, "Thank you for making our daughter feel uh, comfortable." And but if you need for us to pay anything for your mailbox, we would replace it. So I always found that strange that this little girl that's gonna hit my mailbox and then come and ring my doorbell. I always found that strange, and then I find it even more strange that I expected two parents to or one parent to show up and acknowledge that they appreciate me being respectful to their daughter, because that was a dangerous situation. But so just you just have to be careful, and and protesting is necessary. But I just find it ridiculous, all that yelling and creating that chaos when you could protest just with your presence. I mean, the monks that walked through, I didn't hear any uh, chanting and hostility, but it was a beautiful thing to see people lining the streets quietly. Do that with the policing that's going on in this country. And when they say that some black officers have gotten pulled over out of uniform, we know what happens with a lot of police departments with black men. As soon as they come out of the academy, their counterparts explain to them that I know what they taught you one thing, but this is what actually takes place. You do what we say and you'll go home safe. And so if there are people in the black community, black police officers have did some foul things, then ICE probably know about it. And they chose to stop you when you were out of uniform to see how you gonna manage yourself. So, and it's ironic that the same thing that with the bad policing that took place in Minnesota with George Floyd, and now and you want it reformed, so you got another form of police. You had a community person. I saw a person on the news. I know he was a black dude under that mask. So stop trying to control things you can't control. Just go in your home and make sure that your home is peaceful. So create some heaven inside your home, because apparently you guys out in the streets have a battle and a fight that only you know why that battle is inside of you. But I'll see you guys next month. Be peaceful.